Is ayahuasca the key to success?
Good question, man. Are you asking a serious question? You want a serious response?
I like that fun.
You're kind of being a jackass. You think you're
It's like I'm sitting here because I listened to your podcast with Aubrey Marcus. By the way, I thought it was phenomenal. Taking a deep dive into you, you're very like open and transparent. Like the whole controlling the narrative thing, like juices me up because that's why I like love doing this shit because people talk freely and kind of it's the people behind the helmet and you get to know them more. Had you not really all you see them as is what articles are written on them out there and everybody else commenting. We don't say enough because we want to keep our helmet on and appease everybody inside the building because it's not about us. But I really appreciated that episode. I asked that in fun. The serious part, you can go listen to that episode because you obviously talk openly about your trips, your fucking all your little rides that seem very interesting. You're getting emotional, I'm getting emotional listening to it, and I'm wondering if I get on this ride, am I going to have year 10? Am I going to put together back-to-back MVP seasons? Because that's what the narrative's getting painted as now, that ayahuasca is the reason you've won back-to-back MVPs.
They're going to run with whatever narrative they want. I think there's a lot to unpack in that question based on some of the things that I have seen about it. But look, it's my experience. I speak for myself, and I had a fantastic experience both times. The first time I did in Peru and the second time down in Central America. Very thankful for the lessons that I learned on that. But classic this culture, you know, if you can't monetize it, then they're going to demonize it. And ayahuasca, I've seen some crazy headlines about, you know, psychedelic drug.
Right.
It's a plant, number one.
It's just a plant, dude.
It's been used for generation after generation after generation in Central and South America. And so as far as research goes, yeah, there's thousands of years of research around using this plant in medicinal ceremony. And there's a lot of benefits to it. For me, it was like I talked about, you can go listen to the podcast, but it was two really deeply meaningful experiences. But, you know, if you're not into it, that's fine. But projecting your own opinion onto something without understanding what it is doesn't advance any conversation further. And there's a lot of research around a number of different things labeled as drugs, like psilocybin, which is mushrooms, which is a fungi, and the demonization of marijuana that's gone back to, you know, the 1800s, really, and hemp and the war against hemp. There's a great book about that. You know, I think that's what people who want to monetize health have done to many things that are plants that actually have incredible healing properties. Look at the Chinese. They've been using herbs for thousands and thousands of years, and I'm rambling now, but the point is there are like real substances, plants, you know, herbs, fungi that have been healing people for a long time. And then there's pharmaceutical stuff, which some is very, you know, important, and it helps people with certain specific causes. But there's also an industrial complex that really wants to make money off of health.
So we've talked about this, but I'm just kind of asking questions.
Love you co-hosting in here. That's good.
Thank you.
He's fired up. I know he's your game ready right now.
Yeah. So I just kind of asking questions for Will to kind of hear it out, because we've talked about your trips and experiences and your visits to these countries, but for like him who doesn't know, like what goes about that, like when you drink it, and like how long is the experience? What do you do? What is the, I don't want to say vibe because it's obviously more important and like
I can talk
intent.
about the vibe.
Yeah.
About the vibes.
Oh, we're pro vibes on this buzz, brother.
Yeah.
Vibes only.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. I've dispelled again. I talk a lot about this in the podcast. The short version is it's in some sort of you know, ceremonial environment. So some, you know, yurt or a tent or maloka.
Like in a jungle or like in a forest.
In Central America, we're in a jungle. There was, you know, it was a week-long thing. There was 22 people on the trip. There was, you know, 8 facilitators at the center. The shaman, you know, obviously comes in And there's a specific diet that you eat. There's 3 nights of sitting with the medicine, and then a day off in between where there's integration, there's conversation around your experience. But even way before that, there's, talks about your fears around it, the expectations of it. Um, so you feel really, really confident.
So you go into it with like the mindset of what you're trying to get out of it.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not just like you're just thrown into it.
No. It's very intentional. So
Yeah.
you go in with an intention, something you want to work through or you're open to.
Right.
But at the end
How
of
hard is it to get to that intention?
well, you have
Because I'm obviously listening to you, and there's like stuff that you're having to like live in the scarring of it to like, the whole self-love thing that you talk
right,
about as well,
right.
like being intentional and trying to have the right mindset going into it. Like me, I think about it, I'm like, man, I probably have like, you get to like an anxiety state, like, is this the rabbit hole I want to go down, and is this the right decision? Like, how do you get to be intentional
Well, then
about
it's not ready. It's not time, for you. It's not time. I think when you're ready, things will come into alignment, and the opportunity will present itself. But the key for me is the surrender. So surrendering to the intelligence of the plant or the intelligence of yourself, however you want to look at it, to go on the journey to learn the lessons that need to be learned. Because when you're resistant, and it's just really anything in life, when you're resistant to things, obviously that water can't flow, that action can't happen. And when you are in a ceremonial space and drink ayahuasca, it's a very calm environment. It's dimly lit. You drink. There's mapacho being smoked, which is the sacred tobacco, which the shamans believe helps keep protection over the space. He's singing Icaros, which are very like generationally passed down songs to aid in the medicinal journey. And then there's multiple facilitators around who have sat with plants for you know much of their life, who can help if things get squirrely. But there's a bucket if you need to purge or throw up, and there's bathrooms if you need to go to the bathroom. And other than that, it's usually you laying on your mat, having a deep and meaningful experience.
Are you with like other people?
There's 22 other people.
So,
plus
but they
facilitators.
put you all in the same area,
Yeah, but you're in your own
right?
you're in your own world. I promise
Yeah,
you that. Like,
yeah.
we might be, Will and I might be, on mats next to each other, but I'm in my own experience, and he's definitely in his own.
Will is definitely would be in his own experience.
Yeah.
I'm shitting myself. There's no question. Whatever's happening, yeah, we're all in our.
Full purge.
What I want to ask is, I listen to that and I think like, all right, you do something like that, and then you have, whether it's the rest of the off season or you get into the season, what how do you balance coming out of that and continue to be intentional with like living in that clarity, or like living in protecting your mental from getting outside of yourself? Like, how do you stay intentional? Like, what's like a routine that you might stick to, or like books, or how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, all that stuff. I think as we're creatures of habit. So the routine during the off season, it's so nice to not have the routine, to be able to make your schedule and
Mm-hmm.
do what you want to do. And you have your workouts in the mornings usually and stuff. But when you get back, I think one of the things that we all love and appreciate is that routine that kind of keeps us focused on the here and now. But inside of that, we can't get locked into the same routine all the time. It takes 3 weeks to build a habit. Uh, and once it's built, it can stick with you, but it's keeping your mind focused on what you want to actually have your days look like. And for me, there has to be some sort of meditation, there has to be some sort of quiet period, especially when I get back from work, where I can just like decompress, because work is loud and there's a lot of stuff that we're asked to do. Some more than others, depending on your position, your age, your importance to certain parts of the aspects of the chemistry of the team. And I think it's important to keep that balance when you get home, having a space that's kind of just yours, and having the time to be quiet and and to decompress is important for me to kind of mentally stay sharp.